And look, there's an argument to be made to never use a first-round pick on a running back unless it's a guy you really love who you think is going to be great. You can find running backs later in the draft, round 2, round 3, all the way to round 7, all the way to undrafted like an Arian Foster, excuse me. So it's amazing to see how some of these careers unfold. And we've talked in recent weeks about the Christian McCaffrey second contract, other guys who are in line for one. 22 running backs were taken in the 2015 draft, Chris, and currently none are playing for the teams that drafted them. We are 5 years removed from that draft, and the 22 running backs taken are not with the teams that took them. Todd Gurley, cut by the Rams, signed by the Falcons. Melvin Gordon, not re-signed by the Chargers. He signed with the Broncos. David Johnson, traded to the Texans after a contract that the Cardinals ended up regretting. Tevin Coleman, long gone from the Falcons. So, it raises questions about, will teams continue to recommit? And look at the recent history of second contracts. More regrets than rewards. Yeah. The biggest argument to not give Christian McCaffrey a huge contract was, look at what happened with Todd Gurley. Look at what happened with Ezekiel Elliott. And not that Ezekiel Elliott was bad last year, but he was no longer that clear-cut top running back in the game. He wasn't playing at the level that they paid him at. And, you just have to wonder what teams are going to do with this next wave of running backs who are due for their second contracts, Chris.
Yeah, I think, the new wave of thinking, and I know we've touched on this a little bit, but when you do draft a running back, I don't care if you draft him in the first round, the second round, the third round, whatever it may be, we have to get out of this old world thinking of, we've drafted our running back and he's our guy for the next 7 or 8 years. No, it's a 3 to 4 year investment. Every 3 years, teams should be probably looking at going, all right, we need to draft a running back to bolster the room for depth, or maybe, hey, we need a higher pick to get, some higher quality athlete in here at the running back position. However, these teams want to use their investments or assets as far as draft picks are concerned. But that's really, I think, as far as you can go. I mean, you're right. We got examples to show you that when you get after year 4, it gets dangerous. It does. And I think that's how it has to be evaluated. One, you have to realize you're drafting a running back for the short term. We're going to see how it goes. And really, then you have to evaluate the 3 to 4 years that the running back's there and go, okay, how much wear and tear has he had? Where is he at physically? And that should be what dictates how much you're going to pay the guy in the future and all that. I think that's why Carolina didn't blink with Christian McCaffrey. One, they know how awesome he was, but two, they looked at him and they go, man, he takes care of his body. He hasn't really been banged up so far. I think this is a safe investment as far as giving a running back money. And they deemed that, and then they went with it. So that's what teams, I think, have to do here as we go on with the running back position.
And this is one of the realities of having a workhorse running back. He becomes a superstar. He becomes a favorite of the fantasy football crowd. He becomes a guy that all of your fans buy his jersey. He's the face of your franchise. That's what the Panthers are dealing with. And the challenge becomes, if he ever gets to the point where he's not living up to that contract, it's a lot harder to rip the name off the back of the jersey and move on because the fans aren't going to want to do it. You're stuck with that guy, and you may be in a position where you end up keeping him longer than you ever would have because of the fact that he's become this superstar force in your organization. That's part of the reason why you don't give the guy the second contract. That's part of the reason why you have 2 or 3 running backs, so you never have that one guy who burns so brightly that you have to give him the big contract. I mean, look at what the Colts have done with Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack was on the list of guys that maybe you're going to get a second contract. Not anymore. Not now that they've signed or drafted Jonathan Taylor and signed him to a rookie contract. That's part of that willingness you have to have as a team. That's a position that churns. And if you do that long-term big money deal with that guy who's become a superstar, you may regret it quickly like the Rams did with Todd Gurley. The original guy, Chris, the first guy who brought this dynamic to light was Shaun Alexander. Shaun Alexander was a guy that the Seahawks didn't know what they were going to do. Well, we were going to sign him or what. 2005, he has an MVP season. Well, we got to sign him. We got to give him big money. Everybody loves him. He's the core of our offense. And then 1 year later, they couldn't wait to get rid of him. And we still see that. We still seem to see teams fall into that trap because I think they back themselves into a corner and they have no choice at that point.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the Dallas Cowboys, they'd be one of those teams you could look at. And listen, I know we both were sitting here pounding on the table, hey, Ezekiel Elliott, get your money, do all those things. We're always in favor of seeing the player get their money. But, I think Dallas, yes, when you draft a running back like Ezekiel Elliott as a top 5 draft pick and then make him, to what you're saying, Mike, the real focal point of the offense and don't have a running back rotation, starting part of your team's belief in DNA is, man, Ezekiel Elliott, our team was built for him to be that guy. Or can we really win if he's not in there? Can we still be as good? So Dallas backed themselves into that corner a little bit, and that's the perfect example. And yeah, last year was a good year by Ezekiel Elliott, but I think you and I were underwhelmed a few times when we were sitting there on Sundays watching at NBC Sports going, man, that's a big hole. Man, there's only one guy within the 30-yard area here for him to make somebody miss and do it, and he didn't do it. So that's where, again, it's going to be really on these football teams to make sure they replenish the position and then evaluate the guy who's playing that position to see where they're at. Like, Mike, who would you rather be? Like a guy like Alvin Kamara, I look at him right now. He's going to be up for a new deal. He's a big, important part of that offense there. But they've used a little bit of running back by committee in New Orleans. So he might get a few more years on his career, right? But he might not be able to ask for the big type of money that like a Christian McCaffrey got because his stats aren't going to justify it because he's been part of a committee running back backfield. And that's where teams are going to have to balance it out. And even players are going to have to start talking about that and seeing where what teams they want to play on as far as the situation is concerned.
Yeah, I think the Saints would say that carry for carry, yard for yard, Kamara is better than McCaffrey. They just don't use him as much. Well, how do you pay a guy that you don't use as much? You got to justify that salary. I get a kick out of this because anytime we talk about Ezekiel Elliott and his contract and his performance, there's one specific viewer who will send hostile, profane, nasty emails because we are the ones that this person blames for Ezekiel Elliott having a down year because we encouraged him, Chris, to hold out. And as we were talking about it today, I thought, you know what? I bet I'm going to have a fresh email from this guy who hate watches the show. And I did. So good morning, Vince. We hear you, we see you, and we appreciate you watching, even though you think you hate us. You know you can't live without us. And I'll just say this, too. Vince has recently suggested, Chris, that we begin arguing that Saquon Barkley should hold out this year. He can't. There's no reason to hold out. He's got to have 3 years in. Next year, Vince, get back to us. Maybe we'll be arguing that Saquon Barkley should hold out. That's when the window opens on his second contract.
Well, what's Vince mad at? I mean, he's mad that we pounded on the table for Zeke to get more money. I mean, yeah, we want to see him get more money. Now, it's not our job to make sure he stays in shape and is a professional in the meantime. I mean, that's on him. So, again, I don't know what to say there. Yes, we're always in favor of the player getting the money over the billion-dollar owner. And Ezekiel Elliott put in a lot of wear and tear in his body his first few years of the Dallas Cowboys. But, man, you can't blame us for telling him to hold out and getting more money. That's crazy.
I can't even begin to paraphrase the emails that this guy sends. They are so hostile and so profane. It's actually entertaining, and I think I'm encouraging him and others to do the same thing. Hey, I just want to make sure our friends in the UK and Ireland watching on Sky Sports understand I don't really like it. I don't enjoy it, so don't send me. I'm serious. I'm trying to make this point clearly. Do not send me a bunch of hostile, profane emails. I don't get some perverse pleasure out of that. All right, let's take a break.
I don't know about that, UK or England. Let's just send them emails and find out the hard way.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.